اليوم معادلتنا بالإنجليزي. Our guest today is Marissa Peer, and she'll be discussing everything about wellness, holistic transformation, and definitely RTT therapy. What is rapid transformational therapy? راح نفهم all this بالحلقة اليوم. Marissa Peer, we're so delighted to have you with us today in Kuwait and in the Formula Talks podcast.
Well, I'm thrilled you invited me. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your presence, and thank you for constantly reminding people that they are enough, that I am enough, that you are enough. And I think that affirmation is directly linked to Marissa Peer now. Have you always felt that you are enough?
Oh, no, quite the opposite. I think when I was a child, I felt very much not enough. That's why I created the I'm Enough movement, because I had that experience of not feeling worthy enough, interesting enough, good enough. There's so many ways that we don't feel enough. And I felt all of them. So when I grew up and realized that I still had that feeling, I understood what it was. And then, of course, as a therapist, I met clients, they all had the feeling. So I thought, well, if we all have this feeling, I better do something about getting us not to have that feeling anymore.
But let's describe this feeling, because feelings tend to differ from person to another. And you said you saw this feeling in a number of your clients, let alone yourself. So how would you describe this feeling?
I would say 80% of my clients and 80% of the population have a varying degree of feeling they're not enough. And it takes many forms. I'm not attractive enough, very common. I'm not interesting enough. I'm not qualified enough. I'm not worthy enough. It's huge. I don't deserve all of this success. So there are many, many, many ways that we don't feel enough. But the common denominator of most of our issues comes back to, I just don't feel enough. You know, and we think that only affects some people. It affects everyone. You know, people say to me, doesn't talent damage people? But it's actually the opposite. Damaged people are very drawn to talent and fame because, well, I feel enough then. If I'm famous, if I'm beautiful, if I'm wealthy, if I have this business, this look, this outfit, this house, these children, then surely I'm going to feel enough. But it doesn't work, because I'm not enough comes from in here. And you can't go out there and find it by having a great car, a great outfit, a great career, a great role. You could become famous or rich or something, but it won't take it away, because it's an inner feeling that you have to get rid of. The good news is no one is born feeling I'm not enough. No baby says, don't look at me, I've got really fat legs, I haven't got any hair, I've got these milk spots on my face. We're born certain we're enough. And our question is, where did it go? And how quickly can I get it back?
And where did this feeling come from? I think a lot of us, and if I speak about myself, recently reading different researches, different professional opinions, they all tend to go back to childhood trauma from the parents or from the school and surrounding environment. So how important it is for us as individuals to identify these factors from an early stage, or how important is it also for parents and aunties and uncles to be aware of this fact that everything will affect, because like you said, no child is born with the feeling of I'm not enough, and then it just starts growing with you.
It pretty much comes from comparison. You heard the expression, comparison is the thief of joy. So you have your little baby, they seem happy. Then you notice what happens. People start to say, oh, your sister could read when she was 5. Your brother wasn't messy. Look how good your cousin is or this friend is. And then, of course, we go to school and we get streamed, and comparing happens all the time. And it's very bad. It's very bad for adults. We can now go on a website and say, hey, could you grade me? Could you rate me? They go, yeah, you're a 4, you're a 3, you're a 6. And then magazines and the media, there's so much in the world saying, let me compare you to someone else. Oh, you're not as good. And of course, every day we get overexposed to false images of perfection. Look at this person, they've got a perfect body, a perfect house, a perfect marriage, a perfect figure. They're a perfect parent. And we compare ourselves and go, oh, I'm not doing as well, therefore I'm not enough. So we know where it starts. It starts with being compared and then learning to compare yourself. You know, in countries with no social media, they don't have that. In fact, there were some very amazing studies came out about 20 years ago that villages that had no social media had almost no incidence of bulimia and anorexia. The minute they got it, within 3 years, most of the women in these villages, the young girls, were anorexic, bulimic, going on diets because they learned to go, oh, my thighs don't look like that. My body doesn't look like that. So we can't compare. We do a lot better.
And it's hard nowadays because everything is literally in the palms of your hands. I mean, in a click of a button, you're able to book an appointment to change the way you look, to talk to someone about a different thought, or, you know, it's so hard to see successful people and then say, I want to reach this success, but I want to reach it now, because everyone is so used to instant gratification and everyone expects it.
Well, here's the thing. If you are looking out there to be happy, you won't find it. You've got to look in here. If you can go in here and think, okay, so for instance, I work a lot of people with OCD, obsessive compulsive, trying to change, you know, the cushions, everything's going to be just so. But you're only trying to change out there because you're not able to change in here. People who buy a lot of stuff, I'm buying so much stuff to feel enough. I'm collecting so much stuff. I'm collecting followers or bags or cushions or something to feel enough. But again, you can't find it out there. You have to go into here. So when you go into here and work on the enoughness and liking yourself, it makes a massive difference. We're so busy trying to change what I call the numbers. What are the numbers on the scales? What's the label in my clothes? What's the number of followers I've got? What's the number on my birth certificate? What are the numbers in my bank account? These things all matter, but these numbers don't matter. It's what's in here. And once we know, oh, I can change what's in here, then you've changed everything. But of course, it works for us to need all these products because we become consumers. That's great for the people selling them. But we really have to go back and say, hey, when I was born, wasn't I happy? Wasn't I contented? And I think I was the most wonderful thing in the world. What happened? It's never what's wrong with you. It's what happened to you. Where did you learn to be dissatisfied with yourself? And once you get that answer, you can think, well, now I've got the answer. I can go back and reactivate what you were born with.
To get this answer is really difficult. I shut all my social media more than 10 years ago for a good 2 years, if not more. And this was the time that I took to understand what's in here. Why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? What can I do? But then it requires commitment. It requires a deep understanding of ourselves. And I see that a number of people start this journey, but then somewhere in the middle, they just fall back into their old beliefs and habits because they don't do the rewiring from within fully. Yeah. Is that the reason? Or I'm sure you see a number of different examples to what I just said. And if I go back to the situation I was in, I remember when I got back to social media, it was a whole new world for me. Like everything was updated, everything was different. And the comparison had increased by then because if you look 10, 15 years ago, it was the beginning or the boom of social media platforms. And then 2 years after that, I'm not on social media. And that was the real boom where everyone was there. So there's a gap.
See, part of the problem is we're saying, but isn't it? It's so hard to change. It's hard. It requires work. It takes a long time. None of that is true. You can change like that. You know.
How so?
Well, have you ever eaten something and been violently sick that I can never eat that again? You know, I had that. I ate some shellfish and I was so sick. And I didn't have to change. I can never eat it again. So how do we change? We can change immediately. We can change cumulatively. We can change retroactively. But sometimes change is instant. You know, sometimes you can just change. You might say, I went on a school trip to an abattoir, and I came out and I can never eat meat again. I don't know what happened, but something changed. So I think the belief change is hard. In fact, neuroplasticity means the brain rewires itself according to your thinking. So I think we have to go back and say, actually, change isn't hard. Staying the same is harder. I've been like this for 30 years. I've been lonely. I never got a promotion at work. I never found love. Staying the same is hard. From the minute we're born, we're changing. And all we have to do is go, okay, let me control the direction of change in my life, make it change. Like, for instance, aging. People say to me, oh, isn't it hard getting older? I'm like, you know what? It's a gift some people never get. We've got to reframe. Oh, it's awful getting old. Well, my best friend died 2 years ago. She would have loved to have got old and had wrinkly knees and crepey skin. She never had that joy. It's so hard being married. Actually, I found being single much harder. I remember one day waking up, being really unwell and thinking, I'm going to have to get out of bed and go and get the medication. But I was in so much pain. I was thinking, oh, I'm going to have to go and get this medication, but it was too painful to get up. Now I have a lovely husband. If I'm not well, he does everything for me. So having a child is so hard, but it's the most beautiful thing in the world to have a child. So you see, this is what happens. We make a belief. The belief turns right around and makes us, and then we look for confirmation bias. I'm finding proof of what I have chosen to believe. So stop saying change is hard, change is difficult, change is long. You can change. You say, does it take 30 days? It can take 30 seconds to change. It can take 30 minutes. It depends what happens to make you change. But you are in control of the direction of change in your life. When you make that change for the better. I'll give you an example. One of my clients was going for IVF. She was saying, it's so unfair. I got to take all these injections and take these drugs, and it's not fair that I can't have a baby now. She said, well, 100 years ago, you wouldn't have even had IVF. Why not call it assisted? The medicine is helping you have a baby. That's a gift. Some people didn't get that gift. I know someone incredibly famous, beautiful, and said, if I'd just been born 20 years later, I'd had a baby. But when I was trying to get pregnant, there was no IVF. So it's really, can you reframe what you're thinking? You can't change what's behind you, but you can change what's in front of you if you just go and change the thoughts and beliefs that are inside of you. And that's easy and it's free. And it's not hard at all. It can be incredibly easy. You have to get excited about change. Go, hey, aren't I lucky living in this world where I can change things?
I love that. I truly love that. I love how you said it so simply and it has so much depth to it, Marissa. Yeah. And it reminds me of my mom always, like when someone tells her, or when my daughter says, oh, my mom's old, or grandma, you're a grandma. And then she says, that means I'm alive. Exactly. I'm so lucky to be alive. Yeah. And even now I started saying that to my friends when they say, aren't you afraid of like growing older? I'm like, no, it means I'm alive. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that Allah, God is giving me a new day, a new chance to grow, to learn. And about learning and rewiring, have you included all these things in your RTT method, your rapid transformational therapy, which is really life-changing?
It is an amazing therapy because I based it on that very belief. People say, I need to go to a therapist. I'm going to have to go every Tuesday for 5 years. And I thought, that's not true. No doctor says, oh, you've hurt your back. Well, come and see me every week for a few years. No dentist says, oh, your tooth chipped. Come and see me every week. Therapy was the only modality that said, bring me your pain. I want to have a conversation about it for years. And I thought, well, therapy should be like going to the doctor. You're in pain. Let me take away the pain, whether that's the pain if I get tension headaches or the pain if I can't find love. So I wanted to find a therapy that was fast, that was just like going to the emergency room. Bring your pain and you're going to leave without it. So we created this method, rapid transformational therapy. Then we created rapid transformational coaching. Then we created integrated, which is therapy deals with the past, coaching deals with the present. But even when you become an amazing therapist, you also have to do something else called marketing, showing people who you are and what you can do. So now our business does all the marketing for you. We design your website. We do everything because we want people to see.
For the therapists.
For the therapists and the coaches. We want people to see you're in pain. You might have one session, maybe 3, And it can change your life. Change is easy, it's fast, it's powerful, and you get to keep the change. But you need to go to someone who knows. Well, RTT is very specific. It says, find the pattern, understand the pattern, change the pattern. Just like that. Find it, understand it, change it all in one session. Because some therapy tries to find the pattern for years, and some therapy tries to change it. I say, I know why I scream at my kids. I know why I keep eating. I know why I do, but I can't stop.
Because there's no paradigm shift.
No, knowing isn't quite enough. And changing it isn't enough because you're trying to change a behavior. And here's how it works. It's like a ladder. Your thoughts control your feelings and your feelings control your behavior. So trying to change a behavior is hard work. But if you change the thinking, it changes everything. So RTT finds the pattern, understands it, changes it, but it changes the thoughts at the very root that dictate our behavior. So if you think I'm not enough, of course you're going to, I'm always shopping. I'm always eating cake. I drink too much. I'm always trying to get more followers. Well, this is because you don't feel enough. So let's fix that. It's what I call what lies underneath. People come in, here's my problem. The presenting problem is often not the problem. It's the problem of I don't think I'm good enough. And if that happens, you'll find that you go into self-sabotage. We know that up to 80% of lottery winners are utterly broke in 3 years. And 90% of inherited wealth is lost in 3 generations because of this not enoughness. So we got to fix the not enoughness. And if you fix that, you're fixing 80% of everything.
And you've had the chance to change people's lives on a daily basis, and people from all around the world. So you see different cultures, you see different upbringing and how these different beliefs affect people. So are there similarities between people throughout the world that they deal with? And what are the main differences that shape us?
I think around the world, not enoughness is very common. It doesn't matter what culture you're in, whether you're in Africa or the Middle East or Europe or America or Australia. We all have the same fear. Our great fear is to be rejected. We're born hardwired to find connection, avoid rejection. It wasn't that long ago that fear of rejection would kill us. We lived in a tribe. Safety was a numbers game. And on our own, we couldn't possibly survive. So worldwide, this fear of rejection makes us stay in a relationship that isn't working. It makes us not ask for a promotion that we want. It stops us going high. It makes us think, well, there's a glass ceiling. So although there's a lot of cultural differences, the fear of rejection is something you'll find everywhere in the world.
So what does it mean to be enough?
It means you like yourself. No matter what you have, whatever you have in the world, if you don't like yourself, if you haven't got high self-worth, then everything you have got is meaningless. And if you haven't got high self-esteem, I've been putting this program into schools in the Middle East and all over the world because a parent's job and a school's job is to make sure that child has high self-esteem. But they don't even know how to do that. And comparing chips away at your self-esteem. So to be enough would be able to say, if you're a kid, I'm really good at IT and that's my gift. I don't need to be good at sport or English or art. As an adult, it's the same. Hey, I have a gift. My gift is a designer. I don't need to be an amazing chef. I don't need to be an amazing gardener. So what schools tend to do, and some businesses say, hey, you've got to be good at everything. So here we are at school and you've got to be good at art and science and maths and literature. And when you're good at everything, you become what we call a master of all trades and a jack of none. But the truth is you are here on the planet to find one gift, just one. Find your gift, keep perfecting your gift, and then take that gift out into the world. And enough says, this is my gift. I'm not good at all at interior designing. I'm a terrible cook. I'm really awful at gardening, but I found my gift and I'm just doing my gift. And I was actually talking recently about a child I worked with who was very upset because he was good at computers. I said, but darling, that's your life. Close your eyes and imagine a world where you're good at every single thing. You can plumb your own house, decorate your own house. You're the best chef in the world. You never go out to dinner. You make your own clothes. Don't employ anyone. Wouldn't that be a terrible world? Because nobody would have a job. And he loved that. I said, your job is IT. All you need to be good at is that. And this school wrote to me and said, hey, can we put that in our assembly? We love that. I said, of course you can. So I was both pleased and surprised. Pleased they wanted to use it, but surprised they weren't already doing that. That's the problem. We try to make people good at everything. I'm just not good at playing with kids. I remember Nigella Lawson saying that I'm an amazing chef, but I don't know how to play with my children. But I play through cooking. Well, that's good enough.
And that's an amazing reminder for parents everywhere, because I personally see a lot of parents that do the work, have worked on their wellness, on their mindset, but then when it comes to their children and specifically their school grades and their academic behavior, they just forget everything and focus on the tests next week, 2 weeks ahead, or a fortnight before the test or the midterm, and they put so much pressure not only on the children but on themselves.
I know, because they say my kid is failing, and yet some of the most successful people out there didn't do well in school. Jamie Oliver, the world famous chef, he did terribly at school. Damien Hirst, a world famous artist, failed at his art exam. So we forget that some of the best, most gifted people didn't do well at school because the school kept trying to make them be good at everything instead of saying, you're going to be a chef, you're going to be a painter. You don't really have to understand geography. In Finland, for instance, children self-select their lessons and they go to where their gift is and they're much happier.
Can we say that when parents do that, they're subconsciously putting mind blocks on themselves and their children as well?
Well, they're saying they're not enough. Why can't you do maths? You got to be good at maths. Why can't you spell? Why can't you draw? Why can't you? And you're saying you're not enough instead of saying you were given this gift. You were given this gift. Your job is to perfect your gift. Imagine if Adele was a nail technician, if Ed Sheeran or Frank Sinatra was a plumber. People who make it just find their gift. Adele isn't busy trying to be an interior designer. She's not learning to be a hairdresser. She just sings. And that's when you feel your enoughness. I know that I was put on the planet to be a therapist, to help people deal with emotional issues. I wasn't put on the planet to be a chef, a designer, a dressmaker, a gardener. And when I was raising my child, I was very aware of what I wasn't good at, particularly cooking. I didn't enjoy it. The idea of buying all this stuff and chopping it and then washing it all up, it never gave me joy. It gives some people immense joy, but not me. But I always realized that wasn't my gift, so I didn't beat myself up. But when you are saying, but I've got to be good at everything, you're always going to feel less than. When you say, hey, I found my gift, I'm a florist, I love arranging flowers, I'm really good at it. That's all you have to do. If you go to a restaurant, they don't say, hey, we've got one chef. And they do everything. They go, well, we have a pastry chef. We have a meat chef. If you go to a school, they go, well, we have a geography teacher over here. And then we have an English. When you go to a hospital, they go, well, this is the bone surgeon. This is the heart surgeon. Even in businesses, we have people who are good at one thing. You wouldn't say, I found a doctor. He does every surgery in the world. You go, I don't want him. He's spreading himself a little bit too thin. But we do that to ourselves, and that's where not enoughness begins. But when you understand that, you can stop it.
So how do we find our purpose? How do we know that this is why we're here?
Yeah. Well, living your life with purpose and meaning and knowing what you do has an impact is amazing. It's probably why being a therapist is one of the best jobs in the world, because every day you have meaning, purpose, impact. You make a difference, you grow, you contribute to society. But how you find your purpose is go back and think about, what did you love to do between the key ages of 5 and 15, whatever you loved. So Jo Malone would tell you at 7, I was picking petals and trying to make perfume with my mother's flowers. One of my clients who's a strategist said I was always doing puzzles, someone else said I was always pretending to perform surgery on my dolls and teddies, and here I am now, a doctor. So go back and look at, what did you love? What sparked joy? What made your heart sing? Because it's very hard to succeed doing something you absolutely hate. When I was growing up, my neighbor's kid was always doing experiments, and he became a very, very famous scientist. But you could see that was predestined in him. So find what it is that you love, because it's very hard to succeed doing what you hate. And what you love is your gift. It's your unique skill set.
What about you? When was the point or the turning point when you realized this is what I love?
Well, when I was a kid, I came from a very dysfunctional family. My father was a head teacher. My mother they were very unhappily married. And I was always writing stories about unhappy families, which my mother kept for me, never realizing, of course, what was really going on there. I saw that my father got joy. He loved what he did so much, and he made a difference. He was a very interesting head teacher. So I thought, I'm going to be a teacher like him. I can see the joy it gives him. And I went into teacher training and then realized that I'd actually like to be a child psychologist instead. And then I realized that's a very hard career, because you always have 3 clients, mother, father, child. Where I was coming from, they were always divorced, and it was very difficult. And then I realized therapy was a better thing, working with children without having the parents there, or without having it to be a weekly thing. So I trained to be a therapist, and I absolutely loved it. And I would have done that for my entire life, because it gave me such joy. If you have a career where you give and receive, where you love what you do and you do what you love, you're always going to be happy. And I would have been happy just to be a therapist, but because I created my own technique that was so powerful, and because we have this integrated method, which is so powerful, I began to get booked to speak at schools and on stages. And at one time I was filming a show in London and California simultaneously. And I thought, I should write a book. I've got this audience. So then I wrote my first book. I'm now just about to have my 8th book published. So although
Awesome.
I thought I'll go over here and be a therapist, I became a therapist, a speaker, a writer.
Author.
And then I went back to teaching, which is what I was always going to do, because I teach people. We've taught almost 20,000 people, over 600 in the Gulf alone, how to be phenomenal therapists.
And now you're expanding that with the strategies
Yes.
and the courses you offer
Yeah.
and the business strategies with the marketing and everything else included. And this is a turning point also for you, and it fits perfectly with everything you just said, to where you're helping people grow in all fields.
Grow. I think in life, if you can say, I'm growing, I'm contributing, I'm making a difference. So we've trained a lot of police officers. I joined law enforcement to make a difference, but all I'm doing is locking up people with drug problems, and it's very frustrating. But if you can say, hey, in my career, I make a difference, someone leads a better life because of a skill that I possess, I'm growing, contributing, making a difference, you're moving so far away from that not enoughness, which is I wake up, I go to work, I do a job that doesn't fulfill me, I come home. It can be very disappointing when you're doing the wrong thing. And so some people say, well, I went into the family law firm. I went into my father's accountancy firm. I didn't really want that, but I felt it was what was expected of me. And then in their 40s, they tend to have a breakdown because they're not doing what makes their heart sing, what sparks joy. And we're going to spend half our life almost working. We should really love it. What a waste to do something you hate for such a long time. I'm so lucky because I love being a therapist so much. So I feel I've actually never worked a day in my life. When you do what you love and love what you do, it doesn't really feel like work. And I do work very hard. I've just spent a long time, solitary time, writing my new book. But even then, I loved it. So find something you love and be really good at it. That's why you're here after all. But don't find something you dislike and try to be good at it. I matter. I'm enough. I'm lovable.
I matter. I'm enough. I'm lovable.
My grandmother said to me all the time, men will not marry successful women. And that was true for her generation, but it wasn't true for me.